crisis and economic depression, small business owners often struggle with making sales and keeping the loyalty of their people, because if you ain't selling, it's hard to pay the bills.
On the Ethical Sales Podcast, you will learn new ways to selling ethically and communicating with your people to create more loyalty and getting out of the rut of stress and frustration.
When there is plenty of sales, there should be plenty of profits to keep things flowing smoothly and everybody be happy. So we talked about emeralds last time, and we thought, hand in hand with emeralds, we should probably talk about rubies, because rubies are also task-oriented people.
I'm pulling up the information, my research.
Are we recording? We didn't do an intro or anything. Maybe we'll just use last time's intro.
We could. I think this was the intro.
It is?
Well, then
let's keep rolling. Good. Let's keep going. In a lot of ways, rubies and emeralds are similar because they're very task-oriented people. A lot of times
they're the people that are out in the yard raking the leaves and talking to the neighbor at the same time, because they can't stop raking and talking. If they're going to do only one, they're going to keep raking.
Because they're also not naturally relationship-oriented. They're not people-oriented. They're task-oriented.
They're actually probably going to give the neighbor a rake too and say, here,
why don't
while
you help?
We talk.
They are quick to get started, and they're in a hurry to get it done.
Don't tell me about the labor pains. Just show me the baby. Who is it that says that? Dave Kaufman, I think, says that.
Dave Kaufman.
Rubies oftentimes build some of the biggest businesses. They're motivated by challenge. You should never tell a ruby, I bet you can't do this, because he's going to be like, oh, watch me. They're motivated by challenge, and when something doesn't challenge them, they probably get bored pretty quickly.
Dominant, direct, decisive.
Donald Trump.
ID.
So
how do you work with a ruby? Let's say you're bidding a roof, you walk in. How do you recognize a ruby just boom, right off the bat?
First of all, he's probably got dark colored clothes on, like blacks and reds and dominant colored clothing, name brand stuff. They're the guys wearing the Rolex, driving the
Cadillac.
Yep. Or something latest, hottest styles. They also tend to be very neat oftentimes, as far as don't open their desk drawer, but everything's going to look perfect. To the eye, it looks like they got it all under control.
Any input, Matt? You should be talking about this.
I was texting. What's my biggest fear?
Being taken advantage of.
Ruby's biggest fear is, that's huge. But unfortunately, out of control rubies, like unkept rubies or whatever, not self-aware rubies, maybe you should say, are probably the number one people to take advantage of other people.
And hurt people, not realizing they're hurting
Rubies
people.
are probably the number one personalities that will hurt somebody for their gain, especially those people who don't have Christ in their life. They tend to be the biggest jerks out there. Everything's about themselves. People as a whole without Christ are selfish and self-centered, but rubies are the worst. They really are.
And about 70% of people are rubies or high D. And a lot of men.
In women, rubies are probably the minority. There's definitely ruby women.
So how do you diagnose somebody as a ruby within a couple minutes after meeting them? What are some traits? What are some things?
A ruby's handshake, he's not going to let go. He's going to determine when the handshake ends. It's going to be like he's in control at all times. I walked into an office, and right away I recognized the guy as a ruby emerald, which he's a ruby primarily. That's his first personality type. He wouldn't have had a $35 million business if he wasn't. Secondary was emerald, which is what we talked about last week. So, very task-oriented person. I'm just assuming. But he's probably neglecting his family and the relationships in his life to make sure that he's got the biggest business possible, because he's the biggest player in town. And he told me that right away. We have the biggest company like this in town. And, I'm trying to sell him. So I'm just going to play that in his lap. I'm like, awesome. Congratulations. When did you guys start the company? And I let him talk about himself. And I even asked him, I said, is there any awards that you guys have gotten? And he took me over to a closet that had glass doors on it. And it was full of awards. And he went over and he picked up another one. He's like, last night we got this award. I wasn't even at the council meeting at the town or whatever it was, but they gave us this. It was laying on my desk when I showed up this morning. I got this
but
award.
If you didn't understand personalities, you might be like, well, I don't care. Is there a go-kart track around here somewhere?
Yeah.
Or skydiving.
But oftentimes rubies, because they might not be as relationship oriented naturally, because here's the thing, you can be you can learn and be self-aware of your personality types and who you are to get better at those other things. Don't learn these to be like, well, this is who I am. You learn these to figure out what you're missing.
Really, and the perfect person would be an even of all four that we're going to talk about.
Exactly. You learn these, and so then you incorporate some disciplines in your life to be better at relationships. I mean, we ended up sitting there for literally several hours. I met him at like 8 o'clock at night, and it was midnight by the time I walked out of there. Finally, I said, I have to go. But he just talked about himself. And the thing about, a lot of big business people, nobody gives them the chance to talk about what they've done and the things they've accomplished.
That's how you sell to rubies. You just let him know. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Congratulations.
There's not a lot of people that have been able to do that. He's going to look at you and be like, oh yeah, the roof. Who do I make the check out to?
Yeah. Who do I make the check out to?
Because they're quick to get started and they're in a hurry to get it done. I think when you're presenting to a high D or a Ruby personality type, one thing they're looking for is how aggressive are you in fixing their problem? They have a problem. If they see you attack it like a lion, you probably deal with them.
They're often very urgent people, and they want to see that urgency in you as well. I feel like we've kind of bashed the Ruby maybe a little bit in some of the weak points.
They deserve it.
But I think we should talk a little bit about some of the strong points. I think that a Ruby has a lot of strong points. Naturally, they are some of the best leaders out there if they become self-aware of who they are. Almost all of their good points are also their weak points. Naturally, they take risk, they love challenge, but then instead of spending 40, 50 hours a week in that risk, they're willing to spend 80 or 90 hours a week and sacrifice other things in their life, like their family. Maybe they should be spending more time with their kids instead of in the business. Naturally, Rubies are great leaders. Just don't overdo those things and keep them in check, because, building and having relationships with your kids and your spouse is a whole lot more important than an extra $1 million in your business.
Does that cover it for the Rubies? I feel like Matt feels like we should move on, probably.
No, I'm good. I'm just over here texting because I'm a Ruby, and I'm more tasked than I'm people. So somebody's trying to text me about something tonight, and so I'm just like, I got to get this done. That's how Rubies are. We're jerks like that. Don't try to change us.
God made every personality type that God put in people. He put in people to get certain things done. I believe that, and to get accomplished what he wants out of you in your life. If you're an emerald listening, you probably, if you're trying to live in a Ruby's world, you're going to get very frustrated. If you're trying to live in a Sapphire's world, you're going to get very frustrated. Find your strong points and know your weak points. Be willing to admit those things and then work on those things. And that's how you get better as a person. It's not one personality is better than another person. We all have our strong points and we all have our weak points. And it's knowing those strong points, knowing those weak points, and where we need to work on that will make us become better leaders. So
it really helps you be self-aware and lets you know where you need to work on and what you're good at, what your strong points are. You understanding all of these also really, if you're in the hiring, firing position, it really helps you also understand whether the people will be a fit and last for the position that you're wanting them to work on.
100%.
So there's so many places to use this stuff.
Next episode, should we talk about the fun people or the serving people?
The fun,
the serving people.
I was going to say, let's end these on a high note.
No.
No.
Just because they
it's
like
more
to
fun
hike
to talk
and eat
about
granola don't mean
it is more fun to talk about sapphires
boring.
and pearls, because pearls are the most laid back people probably.
Hey, the Rubies are tuning out. Let's end the show.
All right. Thanks for listening to this week's episode.
Most salespeople know that they need to be likable and trustworthy, but it's hard to remember all the steps. Sales Made Fast and Easy is a printable one-page checklist that helps you quickly understand how your prospect wants to buy, so you can sell your product or service faster, easier, and so you get happier customers and more referrals. With this free checklist, we'll help you discover what motivates prospects to say yes and no, how to use questions as an effective tool for sales domination, why being yourself will make it easier for others to trust in you so you can serve them, and so much more. Download the Sales Made Fast and Easy printable one-page checklist now at leaderminded.com/sales checklist. leaderminded.com/sales checklist.
This episode was hosted by the Max Potential Podcast Network. Find more great shows at maxpotential.com.